We also need to make a once-in-a-generation investment in our families and our children. That's why I've introduced the American Families Plan tonight, which addresses 4 of the biggest challenges facing American families.
President Biden introducing the American Families Plan to the country as a way for us to stay competitive with the rest of the world in education, saying 12 years of public school is no longer enough. And that is why he is proposing a $1.8 trillion plan, which would lower the cost of childcare, provide 2 years of free community college, as well as $200 billion for universal preschool. Joining us tonight is Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, a Democrat representing the 9th District of Illinois. She also serves as the executive board member at large of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Congresswoman, we appreciate your time tonight on News Nation. Many Republicans call the president's plan too expensive, but progressives like yourself say it doesn't go far enough. Why is that?
Well, you know, the president did refer to many of the things that are on the top of the progressive agenda and has said that he wants to do it this year, even if it is not presently part of his family plan. But, you know, he talked about universal access to health care. He said that it has to be a right and not a privilege. He talked about lowering prescription drug prices, which is a priority of ours as well, and said that, yes, he does support Medicare being able to negotiate for lower drug prices with Big Pharma, and that those lower prices would be available to everyone. So he actually made very clear that these things are on the agenda. We would like to see more when it comes to immigration. He said he would like to see more when it comes to immigration as well. And hopefully we're going to be able to move an agenda on gun violence and getting some of the guns off our streets. So it may not be in this very first bill, but it's very hard, I think, for anyone, including the most progressive among us, to say that this is not a transformative piece of legislation. And you combine that with the Jobs Bill and the Rescue Act. I think what we're looking at is a president who at least has the opportunity to be the most progressive person that we've seen in this office since Franklin Roosevelt.
Well, it is an extraordinary amount of money, $1.8 trillion. This proposal will be a challenge to get passed, to say lightly, in a deeply divided Washington, D.C. Where are you and your Democratic colleagues willing to compromise on this plan?
Well, you know, first of all, we are seeing that the moves that the president has made has actually helped the economy get its start by crushing the virus, by helping people who are unemployed get employed. And so I think this idea that it's too expensive, especially since the Republicans have the nerve in a way to say it, because they did in 2017 a tax cut that amounted to $2 trillion. They said it would pay for themselves and instead blasted a hole in the budget of about $2 trillion. And so the kinds of things that we're talking about, many will be paid for. He said, look, you know, I have nothing against rich people, but they have to pay their fair share. And so we are seeing that there are going to be corporate tax increases. People who have made money on capital gains are going to have to pay just as if someone who is a worker and not any less. So I think this is balanced in terms of finding the money and creating the kinds of jobs that are going to generate money.
Well, critics argue that America will be paying for this down the road. House representation in Illinois, I want to talk to you about that. It is one of several blue states right now seeing a population decline. That was according to the 2020 census. Your state will lose one seat in the U.S. House, 18 to 17. How is that going to impact the Democratic agenda, this one in particular that you're trying to get through?
You know, I want to tell you that I think what our main job is as Democrats right now, even with a very narrow margin, is to deliver for the American people. And it's really remarkable because we have bipartisan support outside the Congress. The only place we don't have bipartisan support has been in the Congress of the United States. And what, are they going to go back to their people and say, we don't think that there should be long-term care at home for your loved ones? You don't think that our children should be able to have free community college opportunities? I really don't understand how. I think their political judgment is really off base right now. And I feel like the kind of programs that the president has proposed, and his popularity shows that, is supported by the vast number of American people who want government to finally do something for them, not just for rich people and not just for other people, but to deliver for them. And the president was very clear about that. These jobs that I'm talking about are for you. And so I'm confident that we're going to be able to maintain our majority because we're showing the American people what they can get from this president.
I'm out of time, but my question was about the population decline. Are you concerned that that will impact your agenda moving forward, the fact that Illinois is losing a House seat?
Well, I thought really what you're saying is that because some of the blue states are losing representation, that means that we aren't going to be able to win elections. And I'm saying that that's not true. And I think the agenda is going to move forward because it's popular among the American people. That was the point I was trying to make.
Got it. Representative Jan Schakowsky from Illinois, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much.